Hello ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to Continental Aspire Soccer Explains, our series where we take the most interesting topics from across Europe that you have not heard about. Before we begin, make sure you subscribe. We have doubled our sub count so far in 2021 and we want to aim higher. Subscribe and share our videos and comment about how we can improve. It means the world to us. Today, the topic we are covering is that of AZ Alkmaar, one of the newest superpowers in Dutch football. In the past 10 years, the club has grown into one of Europe's most exciting teams, and the likes of Ronald Koeman and even Beane have helped them on their journey. It's time for us to give you the story. AZ Alkmaar are one of the newer clubs in football, only being founded in the late 1960s and reaching the top of the Dutch football system in the mid-1970s. Located in Alkmaar, AZ played just north of Amsterdam. The club have actually quietly enjoyed European football this century. Since 2004 they have appeared in either the Europa League or the Champions League 14 times. They even reached the semi-final of the 2004 Europa League, and reached the Champions League group stage once in 2009-10. However, they have only won the Eredivisie once in the last 20 years, finishing first in the 08-09 edition under Louis van Gaal. Looking back though at the squads during the beginning of the decade, AZ were an entirely different proposition to what they are known for now. For example, when they last played in the Champions League in 09-10, the only true players of note who would go on to have successful careers outside of Holland were Moussa Dembele of Tottenham, Sergio Romero of Manchester United, and Graziano Pelle of Southampton. Over the next 5 years until 2015, this observation remained true. AZ's teams were typically built of the elder Eredivisie veterans, with little room for much youth. The only notable player to progress through the academy in this time was Wesley Hood, who has now gone on to play for Lazio as a centre-back. Now on the outside, there is not much issue with this. AZ were performing well in the Eredivisie, continuously reaching the knockout stages of the Europa League, and things seemed quite rosy. However, there was more needed from the club. As modern football moved away from slower passing and into high intensity pressing and quick tempo play, the incorporation of younger players from hot academies was becoming essential. AZ thankfully knew this, and as a forward-thinking club, they knew they needed to take the next step before their competitors to stay in the game. In stepped Beane. In 2021, Beane is a man who needs little introduction, but just in case you aren't aware, Beane pioneered the data revolution in US baseball in the early 2000s. As a director of the team Oakland Athletic, he completely ignored his own scouts on the players who he should bring in, and he ignored what people said they saw on the field and instead looked at the raw numbers. This success was even turned into a movie, portraying how Beane managed to find undervalued stars just by looking at data that no one else was looking at. And since then, football has gone into a similar direction. Even in regular analysis, the use of statistics is now valued just as much, if not more, than what a regular pundit could have said 10 years ago. Beane has since gone on to embark on multiple endeavours to help pioneer statistical analysis, or Moneyball as it is often called in other sports and as the film is named. However, Beane was not completely just invested in baseball or even American sports. In fact, Beane is a massive admirer of football. There are stories of him getting up at 5 AM to watch his beloved Liverpool side. He is also a massive admirer of the Netherlands. He admires the way their football team continuously turns over talented players despite a relatively small country population. When his friend Robert Earnhoorn was approached by AZ Alkmaar to become the CEO of the club, Beane greatly encouraged it. Earnhoorn was leading the Dutch Baseball Association and was also a big fan of using data analysis in football. Therefore, after his appointment as CEO of AZ, Beane would begin advising him and the rest of the Dutch club on everything, from academies to the player recruitment, and this set about a revolution in the north of Holland. AZ Alkmaar set about revolutionising their recruitment policy and the path to the first team from the academy. AZ was set out to sustain their partnership with Beane too, and his expertise plus network. The following summer, in 2016, AZ Alkmaar brought in Wout Weghorst, Jonas Svensson and promoted Calvin Stengs to the first team. They identified the 25-year-old Wout Weghorst as a unique option up front. At 6'6", he had managed 12 goals in the Eredivisie for Heracles. AZ took a punt, and over the next 2 years, Weghorst scored 31 goals inside 60 league matches, as well as assisting 10 times. He was sold on in 2018 for an £8 million profit to Wolfsburg. The man he originally replaced was Vincent Janssen. He is best known as a Tottenham flop, after the London side bought the Dutch striker for just under £20 million in 2016. Despite scoring 27 goals in 34 Eredivisie games for Alkmaar, the new recruitment team and analysis had something to say about him. As Chris Hamill touched on in his brilliant video at Football Daily about AZ Alkmaar, AZ felt that Janssen had a season that was unsustainable. Instead of holding on to a perceived prized asset, they budged up their price and made the most of the value of a player they had a feeling would not repeat such goal scoring heights. It is this forward thinking awareness that has separated AZ early on as a forward thinking club, not just in the recruitment world, but also managed to sell on their players and evaluating their own talent. In the summer they sold Weghorst, they also sold Alireza Jahanbakhsh to Brighton for over £15 million. He failed to score for Brighton in 8 months, and again AZ have made a bunch of money off a player who would go on to basically fail. AZ have become a very smart, tough club. During the past few seasons, they have also brought through players and brought through others that have gone on to exceed their former market value. Since 2017, Frederick Mitchell, Marco Bizot, Albert Gudmundsson, Yukinari Shagawara, Hakon Evjen, Danny De Witt, Zakaria Abukal and Jesper Karlsson and Juan Familia Castillo were brought in for a combined £11.7 million. Those 9 players are now collectively worth £32 million. That's also based off Transfermarkt valuations, something that is often a low-ball estimation. This lines up perfectly with what Billy Beane enacted at Oakland Athletics, the baseball club he revolutionised. Both Oakland and AZ were relatively small clubs, especially on the European stage. However, both took advantage of undervalued athletes and made the most out of it. The thing is, in football though, AZ had arguably missed the boat. By 2016, the time where they were beginning to enact their recruitment policy, N'Golo Kante was licensed at the Premier League after being plucked from thin air by Leicester. Man City were leading an overwhelmingly incredible transfer strategy, seeing them identify tomorrow's superstars like Raheem Sterling. Clubs are smart, but AZ proved that there is always room to innovate. As a result, what they have done to their squad in 2021 is incredibly impressive. Rather than just being a well-oiled business, AZ have also added attacking flair to their side. Despite Arne Slot leaving earlier in the season, the squad is amongst one of the most exciting in Europe. When AZ defeated PSV earlier this season, it was a reminder that this side are hot on the heels of them and Ajax, not just for European qualification, but for another Eredivisie title. 20-year-old Koopmeiners has 11 goals this season, as well as 4 assists. He is a defender, and of course most of these goals are from set pieces and penalties, but the ability to bring goals from these areas has helped AZ be a danger against any side. Jesper Karlsson also has 12 goals and an assist, a 22-year-old who AZ originally brought in for just a couple of £1 million. Finally, there's Myron Boadu, a 20-year-old striker ranked as high as Donyell Marlon, and this pacey, intelligent forward already has 6 goals and 1 assist in the Eredivisie this season. He's a forward you've undoubtedly heard of. AZ have built a team from scraps, something which seemed impossible in such an advanced footballing world and even more impossible in such a small country. The 2020s may not be the decade for PSV, Feyenoord or Ajax, but AZ Alkmaar.